Hey folks, my name is Pete Lewis. This is Claire Church. We are the owners of the Muse Performance Space in Lafayette. It's a venue that hosts music and art. And of course, we're closed right now and we're hoping to be open. What do you say? We're going to stream some concerts hopefully in May.
Mid-May, we think we're going to start live streaming on a limited basis.
And we'll see about June what happens there. So we've been reaching out to some of our friends, seeing what they're doing, seeing how they're holding up during the pandemic. And today we have Stafford Hunter. We met a while ago. You played at the Muse.
Yes.
And we've played a couple gigs together. And so we don't know you all that well. So this is a great way for us to learn a little bit about you and the listeners. So do you want to start out with just playing a little bit for us?
Caught me off guard. Thinking about Monk, and I just put on a.
Yeah, just blow a little bit.
Get my little plunger here.
Woo!
Yeah. That was great. Yeah, man. So you were sharing with us that you have your own model mouthpiece that you're using.
Oh yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, here we go. Well, you can see. Wow, these Stafford Hunter models.
Yeah, man.
But I go to Japan quite often, and I met also this is actually my model trombone as well.
Oh,
I hooked up with a couple of companies in Japan that some folks introduced me to mouthpiece company. I always wanted the mouthpiece designed for me because all these guys who they know all of this technical stuff about, hey man, if you get this cut out, this, and I'm like, not really like into all of that stuff. They said, yeah, but there are guys actually who can actually listen to you and tell you what you need. I'm like, wow, tell me. I said, yeah, they'll tell you what what would make it easier for me to play. I said, man, you can do that. That'd be great. So I met a cat in Japan, and someone introduced me to, and he showed me a bunch of his mouthpieces, and he said, yeah, I want to make something for you. I think I was there with the Duke Ellington Orchestra. He said, yeah, I want to make something for you. And he said, yeah, showed me a list of just different kinds of numbers and all this stuff. And then I saw these prices, like $300. And I'm like, is it really cost like, you can get a trombone mouthpiece for $80, standard, a lot of just some great stuff around there. So he said, yeah, I want to make some. I'm going to make about 15 or 15. So I said, yeah, I'm looking for maybe for somebody, maybe to endorse the company. So, oh, don't worry about it. So the guy made like 25 mouthpieces for me. Oh, yeah, just take them. I said, I can't take all of that back from Japan.
Oh,
Yeah, these guys are crazy over there. I mean, if they really, really like you, they'll do anything for you. We went through a bunch of them, came back to Japan 6 months later. I gave them some information. We did it like 2 or 3 times, and I finalized on a few different designs, and I have my own. And
and they're marketing those too, not just for you, but they're out there in the market.
yeah. So for anybody who buys them, so I do like a bunch of workshops and stuff in Japan, different schools, and and then met tons of musicians and stuff. So once in a while, somebody will walk up to me and say, "Hey, look," they'll show me my model mouthpiece, my name on it. I'm like, "Oh man, oh thank you so much." I didn't think it would be like such a big deal, and I realized it was a bunch of cats buying it. I said, "Hey man, maybe I should." I just asked this guy to make it. It's like maybe I should have asked for some money for this. It was like that's $300 a pop there. I'm like, man, but he's such a nice guy. I mean, I literally can call him up at any time, anywhere I am in the world. It's like, hey man, could you send me a mouthpiece, man? Sure, no problem.
Wow, that is so cool.
Or for other folks. I mean, it was a guy in the Ellington band who usually plays the tenor trombone. He was playing bass trombone for this tour, and he really didn't have the right mouthpiece, and he was having trouble with some of the lower notes. And I called up my dude and I said, hey man, could you come by and yeah, one of my friends needs a mouthpiece really bad. I said, man, he's just not cutting it. He needs a good, low, playing mouthpiece. And this guy brought by. He said, yeah, I'm gonna bring some other stuff for you to try. How crazy Japanese folks are. This guy just loved me.
Just mouthpiece makers are crazy. It doesn't matter where they're from, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, but this guy brings 175 mouthpieces. Said I want you to try a few.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Start with like 4 or 5 boxes. But I said, how many mouthpieces? 175. I'm at a gig. I might add with the Ellington Band. We're about to play some theater. I bring him back to the dressing room. So yeah, could you try them and give me some feedback? I said, there are 125 mouthpieces. He said, yeah, well, yeah, but I really want you. I really love, people would love that you play. There are 120. Like, you crazy.
Every measure, you got to change mouthpieces.
So I was like, hey, could you hook my man up? And he got him a good mouthpiece and didn't charge him anything. I'm like, oh. So I said, okay, maybe I shouldn't get on this guy's case. But Japanese are like that. They really, really love you. They'll bend over backwards, travel the mountains for you, or whatever. So
that's fantastic.
So where did you grow up and get started playing music? Like, what got you started playing?
Well, I grew up first thing, I was born in Atlantic City. I'm probably the only person you'll ever meet in your life who was born in Atlantic City. Believe it or not, back in the day, pre-casinos, there were lots of people who lived there, lots of communities, and I'm old enough to be there before the casinos, believe it or not. The casinos weren't always there. And I remember as a kid, maybe in the 70s, and the second casino came in, so Bally's. But soon, my early years, I moved to Philadelphia, and so that's where I grew up, Philly. And yeah, of course, we all know it's a great jazz town. Of course, a lot of great musicians from there: McCoy Tyner, Lee Morgan, Reggie Workman, a bunch of folks came up there. And I came up with a bunch of young greats. Now, young greats. We were all kids then, but Chris McBride and Christian McBride. Sorry, I can't do the Christian thing. But Chris McBride, Joey DeFrancisco, Kurt Rosenwinkel. I mean, we all played in the same, all city band growing up as kids. So it was a lot of music, and pretty easy to get something going on. You had all those great cats there.
That's amazing. I'm just reading the book by Jimmy Heath, Walking with Giants. I grew up in Philadelphia and talking about the times there.
Oh yeah, I saw him. He did a whole bunch of workshops as we were kids growing up, and there was a few times a year a festival, Mellon Jazz Festival, where they'd have all these greats, like Jimmy. All the Heath brothers would always do it. Like Ron Carter, Curtis Fuller, you name it, Red Rodney, Grover Washington Jr. Grover would do it. I mean, and we get these, we get some lecture time, some question and answer time, some workshops, some lessons, and then put on a couple concerts. Sometimes they would play with us, then they would do a concert. And, so I saw Jimmy many times growing up. So as a kid,
So did you end up going to music school in Philly?
I went to a school that was kind of like Christian went to a school like performing arts, and I went to the rival school, which was Overbrook High School. Also, I was there with Will Smith. We were classmates.
Wow.
But he was in a different part of the school. I was in a special music program that they had within the school, and so we were like, we were like college students, but in high school. So I had to do concert band, orchestra, jazz band, choir, music theory. I had to do all of that. Also go to history classes and math classes and all of that stuff. So we were a specialized thing. So I grew up in that kind of thing. And then Philly had all of these like all city things where all the best kids, would do these things, and some Saturday music programs and a couple other things. That's where me and Chris and all of us hooked up, those things. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think everybody would crave for that type of experience growing up, and it's real fortunate to have had that, and it's made you into the musician you are. So what happened after that? Did you start going on the road, or?
After high school, and I started doing gigs, probably like 16 years old or so. I mean, the director of the arts program at Overbrook, he grew up with Lee Morgan and cats Odine Pope and stuff. It's funny, I did a gig with Reggie Workman, and I sat around with Odine Pope and a great trumpet player, Wilma Wise, and they were talking about early Philly. So I mentioned my teacher George Allen, and he was like, "Oh, George, this that." So they just started going on them two, and I was like just enjoying just listening to the story from then on. Oh, George, this and that, he used to do this, and they were all classical players, which I didn't think about. I knew George Allen played a lot of classical music. He was a clarinet player, but I didn't know Odine played a lot of classical music, and Wilma, and they said, oh yeah, them two, and Lee. I didn't know Lee was a great classical trumpet player. He was groomed to be a classical trumpet player, and I'm like, what? So they said, oh yeah, back in, they said, well, back in those days it was different. We had all the racist stuff going on. He said, so Lee was a great trumpet player. He said, but he'd always be first chair in everything he did. He said, but then it's like every week somebody could challenge you for first chair. He said, guests were like, oh, this black guy was first chair. Everybody challenged him, particularly because of the racial thing and everything. And we're like, oh, we don't want this guy. But he would always beat everybody out, and he would always remain his chair. But apparently he just got tired of it, like week after week, year after year, of being constantly challenged for, he couldn't do anything without being challenged. And he said, oh man, just the hell with that. And just left classical music alone and played jazz.
And there are so many stories like that, like Nina Simone, Charlie Mingus, musicians that like were, badass classical players, should by rights have been in major symphonies or whatever, and they weren't allowed to do it, and it's a blessing to the jazz community, but it still sucks.
Oh yeah. Right. Great classical player. Oh man, he went to Juilliard for a year when he first came to New York. He was thinking about that, but
yeah,
jazz was the thing. I mean, we grew up. I mean, we used to practice together, duo a bunch. Just I come over his crib, or he come over mine, and we practice and call up girls and like, hey, I wrote this song for you. You play by your soul, I mean, kid stuff, and but when we practiced duets and stuff together, but great. He was great at just playing music, period. But we had our dream. Him and I had a dream of there were 3 cats that we wanted to play with. Like as a kind of you're 15, like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to play with Art Blakey. I want to play with Freddie Hubbard. I play James Brown. That's who we all decided on. And of course, he got a chance to play with Freddie. I didn't. I saw Art, of course, and met, and knew Freddie a little bit. And he played with James Brown. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm so jealous of him. Just like, man, you got to play with James and Freddie.
That is so cool.
What was your first road gig then?
My I call it like my first real gig. Because when I came to New York, I went to Penn State University for a couple of years, and then got tired of this small little town coming from Philly. Then I moved to New York, and I was came to New York in 1990, and I think 1992 or so, I joined Illinois Jacquet, tenor saxophone player, and 92, 93, and so that was, I had my own band or whatever, but that was like my first real gig, like a real cat, and we played at Bill Clinton's inaugural, and I was like, man, well, actually, first we did it like a jazz cruise. I have the poster of this thing. It was 92, October 92. We did a jazz cruise, and it was just like jazz heaven. I forgot if all the cats are on there. So Anita O'Day is on there, Jacquet, Dorothy Donegan, just about Milt Hinton. Milton was, Keeter Bates was on there, Louis Belson, Al Gray. There were just bunch and tons of jazz groups or whatever. And that was like my first real like my first gig really on the road. But we did Bill Clinton's inaugural, after that or so. But that was an incredible experience. I have to tell you about that one because it should be documented somewhere. Because Bill Clinton was so hip. Apparently, for his inaugural, he had like 50 bands playing all over DC. Just all the stuff that he liked, all the cats that he liked. So he loved Jacquet. He loved the Rolling Stones. He loved it. So he had all of these cats playing different places, different venues, and he went around to each of them to do like a little speech, and then went to the next one or so. So he came to the one we at, and so he came up, and I remember the first thing he said was, "Hey, look, here's my wife. Doesn't she look hot?" or something like that. Hillary walks out, like, wow, we're like up there, and so he had us playing with Tony Bennett as a guest, and so we played, and then the band playing the second band kind of, I don't know if we were opening for them or whatever, but T.S. Monk, actually, that's a whole thing going on here. Thelonious Monk's son, he put together a band because Bill Clinton loved Monk, and apparently he loved the band that he had, which was Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, and then a front line, which is very interesting, Wayne Shorter, Grover Washington Jr., both on sopranos, each on the end of the stage, and then he had Clark Terry and Al Gray in the middle. And you were like, this is a interesting band here, and they just played standards, just kind of kept it cool, everything. But I knew Grover's playing growing up in Philly. I heard him, all the time, whatever. I heard him playing all the straight ahead stuff that he played, which a lot of cats don't know how much he played, but he played a whole bunch of organ groups and things, and so he was straight ahead back in the day. And him and Wayne Shorter were on opposite sides of the stage with the elders in the middle, and Grover left all the pop stuff alone. So they're just up there, and he's sounding like Train and Wayne. And he's just going for it, and just and Wayne Shorter's on one end of the stage, and Wayne is just looking, he's got him in space and everything, and he's just listening to Grover playing, and then every once in a while he kind of looked down, and so all the young cats in the band, Jacquet's band, of course, were older cats, and it was like maybe 5 or 6 young guys who were all 20 something, whatever. We're standing right in front of the band, just watching. And Wayne keeps looking down, and then he'd go back to it, and then he just listening again, then he turn again, and he did that 5 or 6 times, just looking down, like what, like what the hell, I think nobody really realized that Grover could play like that.
Yeah.
So, and we all remember walking away like, man, Grover. it's incredible. I said, man, I heard that growing up, man. So,
he sounded great.
oh yeah, he could play. But I said, man, but I hope that's documented somewhere because incredible band, of course. But definitely a band that's kind of mixed up.
So what happened in your life after that?
Well, it just took off. No, it's not. Well, I played in the ed band for a little bit. I didn't play in the band very very long because I started getting some other calls. I mean, I've done some. My first time playing with at the Vanguard was with Jack Head. I was so happy. I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually on the stage at the Vanguard.
That is
It was like all the time that I was just getting amazed. You know, this Illinois Jack Head. I'm like, and and all the cats that I kind of met through him. And I started getting some calls from Frank Foster, and who had a big band, and that's where I actually wound up getting fired from Jack Head because Jack Head would just call last minute, and I'm like, wait, Frank Foster called me like 3 months ago, I put this in my books, I can't, I'm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't be burning some bridges here. I'm way too young for this, And he's like, hey, well, we're playing like music here. If you're in the band, da 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 da, like you're in his band, you're his. And it happened 2 times. The second time was like, I said, yeah, I'm sorry, and I canceled the false once. And this thing happened again, and I was like, no, I can't cancel again. There's no way. I'd maybe never get a call again, And I told Jack Ed, and he said, okay, turn in your jacket. We had this band jacket. I said, oh man, and so I got fired from that band, but I felt so depressed, like, oh man. But one of my teachers, great trombone player, Benny Powell, was with the Count Basie band for many years, and I called Uncle Benny. I called him up, and he was like, oh man, don't worry about that, Mo, blah blah blah. And they call him the Beast, and he's like, yeah, he's a a-hole, and da 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 da. Don't worry about it, you're fine. And I said, okay, so I felt fine after that, and he started getting me in some things, and some of my other teachers trying to kind of hook me up. I studied with Steve Teray, and he got me on a gig with like McCoy Tyner, and I was like, man, I felt like everything was starting to happen pretty much right around 93 and 94 or whatever. Started getting some great calls. So my life musically kind of really started there.
What brought you here to Denver?
Well, basically, it had nothing to do with anything music-wise. I felt as though maybe about a couple of years ago, I was like, well, I think I'm not feeling the same amount of happiness. I'm getting close to the 50s, my 50s. So I was like, well, I'm getting great gigs, and I got a good amount of friends. I'm in a great city, New York. I got an apartment overlooking the U.S. Open. I'm like, man, I should be like really, really happy. I said, but why aren't I? And I just said, well, maybe getting older, just maybe my idea of happiness is different than it was, before. So I said, let me have some time to think about it and everything. And eventually I just said, you know what, why not just get away? And, I took me a year to like really do it. But I said, I'm gonna make a bold move and just drop everything and just go somewhere and like do some yoga and meditate. And Denver was one of the places that I thought I did a workshop here with Steve Teray maybe about 20 years ago at a couple of schools that I'm familiar with now. At DU, I didn't realize until I kind of got here, and then the University of Northern Colorado, UNC.
Yeah.
And 20 years ago at least. And and I thought, oh, it seemed like a really nice place. And I couldn't work out visa stuff going to live in Japan for 8 months or Europe, but it just seemed to be too much stuff. And I said, here seemed like a great place, just somewhere between here and the mountains, and don't do any work and don't do anything or whatever. And that was my original plan. And just it changed drastically.
It's a really great music scene because it's so warm and supportive, and we have quite a lot of depth. But people, we broke into the Chicago music scene as young musicians, and then we were in Oakland for quite a while. And this is to me, this is the most supportive group of musicians, just of each other, that I've ever been around.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you came to a good place.
Yeah, Denver's full of a lot of good people, actually.
Well,
I say it's very nice. I put it that way. Sometimes I say it's too nice, but it's nice to have that difference go from New York, which is really nice, but sometimes can be a little cutthroat, a little.
right. Right. And Chicago was definitely like that. Like if, you knew people were definitely talking smack around behind your back to get your gig.
Mm.
I don't see or hear a lot of that here, and we've been here since 1990.
Okay.
1990? Yeah,
Well,
1990.
yeah. Are you
Well,
finding, sorry to interrupt you, Claire, are you finding a good balance with music and other things, to enrich your life, so your life seems
Uh,
not just music focused?
well, I'm just still trying to figure it out. Well, I came here and Steve Weiss at DU gave me an idea, of like, hey, why don't you come in and get your master's, and since you don't have it, and I thought about it, it could be useful and everything, and I figured while I'm here, maybe I can do well. And also, I thought it was just going to be all playing. It's different universities outside of the New York area to here, like performance thing. So it's kind of a new. So it was a bunch of things that just were quite different once I got here. I mean, well, first it started off literally. I got here July 31st, and I find an apartment. It's great for finding an apartment. I found an apartment in 6 days, and I got my stuff together, started moving in, and then my father dies. So I'm like,
yeah, that's rough.
yeah. So I'm literally right back near Philly, New York area for a couple of weeks, and then I come back, and then I started getting my apartment together, and school started. So this whole transitional time that I was planning on was just kind of get used to the city a little bit, find some yoga places, really just kind of chill out. All that time was like kind of washed away. And then school was kind of really, really different. I had to do like an introduction to grad studies class, which was a lot of intense readings. I had to read a lot of scholarly texts. I mean, AKA, what in the world? I read 3 pages and I have no idea what this guy is even talking about.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff. And and I haven't written a paper like since 1988. So I was like, I had to tell the teacher that. So man, you got a pretty extensive paper that we're gonna have to do and all this stuff. So man, it's been a long time. So it was a lot of like that was all in my head, and the whole school thing, being around 18 to 25-year-olds, just constantly, So I hadn't really got a chance to get adjusted. So I said I have to go out and check out some music because I'm like, man, that's the only thing that's that's right at home. It just is clear. Music is music, and started listening to a bunch of great local musicians, and I said, oh yeah, I gotta start playing, and so that kind of helped me calm things down a little bit. But I'm still in a little bit rough area. I think, still haven't been able to just completely calm down to really like just take time as I want. And now we're in this coronavirus. I should have plenty of time, right? But it's so depressing.
Yeah. So do you have, this is a silly question, but do you know about Yoga with Adrienne?
No.
Dude, seriously.
Oh yeah.
And everybody, she's like this superstar yoga video woman, like well worth your time. Yoga with Adrienne, 1N.
All right.
It,
Yeah, get back in it. I did it for a bit, and then I stopped, and it's hard to get back in it.
Yeah, and she's funny and she's beautiful, which doesn't hurt,
There you go. Oops.
Well, we would love to hear you play a little more if you're up for it, if you want to play something else.
Oh, sure. I just have a text from Steve Weiss.
Tell him you're very, very busy.
He's moving out to Taos, New Mexico. So he's like here for a day trying to do it all, everything. So anyway, if you see this, hey Steve, you got to shout out for Steve Weiss.
Hi, Steve.
Music.
Big Cubs fan.
Oh yeah, I try to ignore that stuff here. But I'm a Denver Nuggets fan now, and I met the owner, one of the the brothers of John Bolin, the owner of the Broncos. So I'm a Broncos fan.
All right.
Some more Monk. Ah, yeah. Let me move back here. I'm gonna overload the microphone.
Nice.
Morning chops. Sorry.
It's all right.
We're probably your first audience you've played for in a while.
What's that? Say again?
We're probably the first audience you've played for in a while.
Yeah, you know, except for my neighbors, they hear me.
That's awesome, man. Would you have any parting words for the listeners? Words of wisdom, encouragement, anything like that?
Well, you know, all of us, as you guys are probably you feeling the same thing. Once things open back up, everybody's going to be like roaring to play. I mean, you know, it's going to be like we're probably all going to be like teenagers again. But you know, just that any chance to play, I don't care. $3 gig, okay, cool, I'll do it. I'll do anything to go play with anybody. You know, because you know this stuff is not natural. Just being locked in, being closed in, being not having live music. I mean, you know, people talk about hey, music. You know, so music's not important in schools. Music's not in this and that. Right now, oh my God, everybody on the planet is probably dying for, you know, a little bit of just sunshine, a little exercise, and of course, it's live music. Once they have it, they will hopefully realize how important that what we do, how important it is to the whole globe. So,
Yeah, man.
So once we all get ready, let's just go out and kill them. So,
Beautiful. Well, man, thank you for spending some time with us. We'll post this in a few days, and when we're done, we'll get some information so we can get some money to you too.
Oh, okay. No problem. Great. It's great to play. I hope we get a chance to play with you guys. So.
That'd be
Thanks,
great, man.
Stafford.
Yes, clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.